there's a lot of opera music in the piece, and Dido's Lament is one of the songs, and I'm a performance artist, and I sing that in all my not all my club shows, but back in the day, I had a 5-octave register, so I sang for them. When I am late enough, may my wrongs create no trouble. Anyways, I sang for them and I still got the job.
I'm Sam Stone, here with the cast and crew of Dead Male, premiering this weekend at South by Southwest with writer and director Joe DeBoer and Kyle McConaghy, along with stars Sterling Maester Jr. and John Fleck. Gentlemen, thanks for swinging by our studio today.
You're welcome.
Well, Joe, Kyle, what are the origins of this story? Like, how did this idea of this kind of like locked room thriller turned like murder mystery in reverse kind of come about?
Joe read about this dead letter concept. It's a real thing in the post office where when there's a valuable mail that they can't deliver, they have an investigator who kind of figures it out, and we kind of just went from there. Wanted to add some things on our hit list of things to cover, analog synthesizers, the drab Midwest, and the film kind of just grew from there.
So much of this movie hinges on Trent and Joshua. Like, it really is a character study in a lot of ways, especially for this like first half of the film. Like, how did you want to handle this kind of like locked room kind of aspect and like just spending so much time on these characters?
We were fascinated with Trent, who John played just as this character that you know he's doing terrible things, but you're also really rooting for him. So I think that was probably how that the second act evolved to such a depth of a relationship.
How was it finding your characters in the script? Sterling, John?
Well, when you read a script, it's blah, 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 blah. Oh, my line, blah, blah, blah. No, that's how I found my character. No. Wow. Sterling, how did you find your character in the script?
I knew you were going to pass the ball. So, I mean, for me, it's always, it starts with the written word and what's on the page and the breadcrumbs the writers have left, little nuggets about your character. In this case, Josh being a synthesizer technician, and he's concerned about sound and the nature of it, the meticulous nature of it. Well, that's a certain kind of person who's concerned about that. So that's a clue. All of a sudden, I know it's in my nature to be detail-oriented, meticulous, all those things. And you just follow the breadcrumbs, and pretty soon it hopefully blossoms into something people want to watch.
Ditto. Hey,
Mad dude.
It's funny. I was in New York and I had a Zoom. It's where I first met Joe. I had been talking to Kyle, and there's a lot of opera music in the piece, and Dido's Lament is one of the songs, and I'm a performance artist, and I sing that in all my not all my club shows, but back in the day, I had a 5-octave register, so I sang for them. When I am late enough, may my wrongs create no trouble. Anyways, I sang for them and I still got the job.
He's always a little sharp, but we still gave it to him.
Well, especially at 10 in the morning.
If you can catch a vibrato that early, I will.
At that moment, though, we knew like this guy is weird enough to play Trent.
Exactly.
And obsession is the heart of this story. It's obsession on every character, be it synthesized technology, be it Trent and how he treats Josh, be it the kind of the investigation aspect. How did you want to explore and personify these different facets of obsession in the story?
That's such a good question, because I think it's something that we probably struggle with or thrive off of in real life, and we were obsessed with analog synthesizers ourselves at one point in our lives, so I think that led to a lot of Josh's character. Joe and I have been in friends since 6th grade and kind of in a creative partnership for a while, so I think probably some of that dynamic grew between these two characters, creative partnership. Ours was a little healthier, though, than the one in the film.
With that in mind, how do you want to approach something like sound designs, be it synths, theremins, or just like, if so much of this movie is hinged on sound, how did you want to incorporate it into the movie?
I mean, yeah, so Wendy Carlos was a big influence with the synth stuff. The whole analog to digital movement, just in general, is something we were always fascinated with. Always preferred the analog. We've seen what, digital is obviously really impressive now, but it's something we've always just been interested in. So it was kind of an easy way to incorporate it into the plot. And then as far as the soundtrack itself, it lent itself to some of the diegetic stuff we used. Kind of Trent being obsessed with with his own synthesizer collection, if you will. So yeah, it was really fun and felt very motivated to build the synth and diegetic music into the score.
Sterling, I mean, Josh is a determined character, no matter what he's working on, even if he's trying to escape from a basement or if he's just trying to build a really sweet keyboard. Like, how did you want to kind of bring that determination and that focus and drive to the character?
Well, the great thing about that is it makes it easier to play that character because, actors thrive when you have, very clear things to focus on. And for a character like Josh, who is obsessed, which is a great observation and great way to describe him, that made it very easy to focus on whatever that task is at hand. And if it came down to escaping, okay, how do I get this done? How can this happen?
John, I mean, for as much wacky stuff as Trent does, there's always a calm, measured response to him. He's very put together, even under a lot of pressure. There's a scene where he announces proudly that he prepared chicken yakitori, and just your delivery of it was just like, oh, this is like a messed up situation, but it's cool. He can make authentic Japanese food. Like, how did you want to kind of capture such a complicated character and with that facade in mind?
Well, riffing off what Sterling said, this character I was playing was so shut down. The only way he lived was through sound, through taste, and to actually meet a human being that started to bring me out of my shell, and that was my motivating force. I finally found somebody, and a purity to him, and his mission and his purpose. It gave me a sense of purpose as a human being again. For me, I had been burned very much as a kid, and I just, had no human contact. And I finally found somebody. Who could, gave me a sense of purpose and loyalty. I felt, we had a loyal bond. And when he betrayed it, well, what happened? The yakitori just went down the drain, yeah.
How did you want to, you were talking about capturing like the space of the Midwest and that sort of thing. How did you want to incorporate, both landscape shots or these like kind of really sparse interiors and that kind of thing when you were just filming, different landscapes?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were kind of at the mercy of the locations we could find. To create a kind of a specific 1980s world took a little bit of time to find, but our production designer Peyton Jane did a great job helping us create the sets. And kind of in terms, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but in terms of capturing the confined spaces, a lot of it we're working on such a low budget, working super quick. We didn't use any lights, no fancy lights like we have here, but we were just kind of running around, filming the amazing performances these guys were using and just trying to keep it simple.
It's a love letter to a lot of the thrillers of the 80s and that sort of thing, but also like it makes me think of like K-horror or thrillers like Old Boy with the locked room setup. Like, what do you think it is about the 80s and the kind of like analog and synthesizer era that just suits the thriller horror genre so well?
I mean, pre-cell phone is like criteria number one. I would say that. Anytime you can utilize a more grainy filmic look, I think that also lends itself to just something that feels more unique, like it can bring you into another world.
We would talk about this a lot over the years of how our family members kind of look the same in a 1978 photo or 1991 photo, like not much changes in small town Midwest. So we're like, how can we capture that kind of timeless boringness or something? So
audiences can catch the thriller, which certainly is not boring, but certainly timeless. Dead Male here at South by Southwest 2024. Stay tuned to Den of Geek for more South by Southwest goodness. Gentlemen, thanks for taking the time to swing by the studio.
Thanks for having us. This is great.